Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to show you how I do my fleshy decored bases. So when making a base for my model, what I try and do is I try and make it into a little scene, a little narrative, a little something or other that's going on. So first things first, I'm going to use some cork and I'm going to build up some different layers. Once I've built up the layers, I'm then going to grab some plasticard. Now I've cut 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter little squares, and I'm going to cover all of the cork with it, creating sort of a tile effect. Once the plasticard is dried, I then grab a pair of clippers and I go around the entirety of the base and I clip the edges off all of the tiles. This makes it look like it's in line with the actual cork rather than how it originally looked with squares hanging off all over the place. Once you've cut the plasticard to the shape you're happy with, what I then suggest doing is getting the pliers, or the clippers sorry I should say, and just take the edges off each of the squares, because at the moment they look like Scrabble pieces laid down, whereas if you take the corners off it'll look more like a tile. It goes without saying that this can be a pretty time consuming part of the activity. It just depends on how many tiles you put down really. What I would also say is be careful, because as you can see when I'm cutting them here, pieces are flying off everywhere. Once you've done all that, they should look a little something like this. So while the tiles look pretty good, I'm going to jazz it up a bit and I'm going to add some skulls and decorations to the base. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some twigs, some sticks, that sort of thing from outside, and I'm going to make them look like tree roots. The reason why I use things from outside is because they look natural, and that's what we're trying to make it look like, a natural tree root system. With the roots done on the one base, I'm going to change things up for the other two, and I'm going to do piles of gore. So I grab my green stuff, I mix it up, I roll it into a ball and I stick it on the base. Once it's on the base, I use my handy dandy modeling tool and I just play with the green stuff, I guess. I poke holes, I pull it, I just shape it into some sort of horrible looking mess. And because it's supposed to be a pile of gore, a horrible mess doesn't actually look incorrect. And then to help sell the effect even more, what I'll do is I'll grab bits of bone and I'll just stick them halfway out of the pile of gore. Okay, now that our gore and our root systems and our bits of bone are all stuck to the base, I'm going to grab my AK Terrain's wet ground acrylic diorama stuff. Then I'm going to get an old brush, and using that wet ground I'm going to put it over the base and then dip it into the sand. Now what I'm also going to use the wet ground for is to use it to look like grouting between the tiles, because if you don't, again, it doesn't look terrible, but we're trying to sell the effect of tiles, and tiles have grouting between them. I think I rushed on ahead and I skipped a shot of the bases when they're all done. So just to bring you up to speed, I've just given them undercoat of Drake Scale Green from Colourforge. Next I'm going to grab my Dark Sea Blue from Model Colour from Vallejo, and I'm just going to cover the entire base with it. It'll give a nice undertone for any colours we put on top going forward. Pretty simple next step. We're going to grab our dry brush, we're going to grab Games Workshop's, or Citadel's I should say, Citadel's Thunderhawk Blue, and we're just going to give a dry brush over the entire model. We don't have to be careful, we're just giving everything a dry brush. In the next stage of highlighting, we're going to grab Fenrisian Grey. We're going to, just like the previous stage, highlight over the entire miniature, well, base I should say, and this will help make the base pop because the edges will catch the most of the dry brush. Final colour to round off this base, we're going to use a white. I prefer Army Painter's matte white. I find it's the best way out there. That's personal preference. Anyway, grab a dry brush, be a bit sparing with this application, and then you're done with the main colour of the base. Time to paint up all the little details on the base. So we'll start off with the root system, and for this I'm going to use Catachan Flesh. Now I appreciate the paint pot says it's for skin, but it's a light brown that I quite like, and I'm going to use it for the root system. Setting aside that brown to dry, I'm going to jump over to the gory bases, and I'm going to undercoat the gore piles with Screamer Pink. Now using a mix of white and Screamer Pink, I'm going to make a highlight and dry brush that over the gore piles. Alternatively, you could probably use Pink Horror from Citadel range. That wouldn't be too far from the colour we're making, if you prefer it straight out of the pot. Now that the roots have had time to dry, we're going to just grab our Gorthor Brown, this is just a lighter brown, and just dry brush them over the roots quickly. Finally, we're going to give the roots one last dry brush, and we're going to grab Tyrant Skull. That is a Citadel dry paint built for dry brushing. Okay, I think I lost a little bit of footage here, which is a shame, but I'll just briefly explain what the next steps are. You're going to grab Xandri Dust and you're going to base coat all the bones. Once you've base coated those bones and let them dry, then you're going to grab your Agrax Earthshade, give them a quick wash, and then once that's finally dried, you're going to grab Ushabti Bone and you're just going to give it one dry brush over the bone areas. And then that will take you into the next part of the video. Okay, time to make those gore piles, well, gory. So we're going to grab Blood for the Blood God. It's kind of a personal favourite paint of mine, and then we're going to apply it quite generously over those areas, and then the gore piles will be finished. And the final step for these bases is to paint the rim. So we're going to paint the rim a black. You can use any one of your choices. Personally I go with Vallejo, but I mean it's entirely up to you. And once you've done that, you can then stick your miniatures on top, and they're ready to see battle on the tabletop. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one.